Trying to help folks who like to have a little extra time have some time to reflect. We all need that. We'll just wait another minute or so. We can see that people are still joining. I'm sure some people are coming from other meetings, so we'll just give folks a moment to arrive. That's exciting news, Kathy. I'm pumped to come to your summit. Now I'm like, I don't even know what to call myself, extra pumped now somehow. Extraordinarily pumped. If they're that excited, I know I'm going to be even more excited. Liv and I made our first visit to a regional child care coalition meeting in Region 2, which was incredibly well hosted by our colleagues in Region 2 at Networks Northwest and their partners. And we had a chance to hear about 7 different related pieces of work that are going on in Region 2 and just some really cool stuff. So excited to share that with everyone as within the TA library and in having more opportunities like these where you're talking to each other about the amazing work that you're doing um, on the ground and really making a difference in so many ways that are exciting and new. I think we could go ahead and move forward, Sable. So again, welcome everyone. Today's content and framework and flow. You can go ahead. I think it might be animated. There we go. So here we are in the section number 1, where in just a moment we're going to be going through the working agreements, and then Liv will be talking a little bit about May 7th, and we'll actually be doing the check-in question. And then we've got a couple of rounds of peer-generated breakout time. ECIC staff are prepared to help with note-taking and take notes at the request of our hosts, but we're only there really to serve in that role. So looking forward to listening and learning. Then we'll have some time for a large group debrief, and then heads up on things that are coming. And I know many of you feel that, like I do, that the summer's rushing by. But we've got our exciting August meeting to look forward to, so we want to remind about that. All right, as you all know, we like to take a moment to go through our working agreements as a way of really fully entering our time together and making sure we're all grounded in the ways we've agreed we want to work with each other while we're here together. And so I'll just allow everybody to take a moment to look over these. And we have a practice at ECIC where we share which one of our working agreements we're really going to hold during the meeting today. And so I think I'll share our ECIC practice with all of you and invite all of you to pick which of these working agreements that you're really going to be holding on to today as you enter learning space with your peers.
Where do you live?
Yes, I was just reading everyone's chats with which working agreement they're holding space for. I always like to choose listen to learn as mine, and I'm looking forward to listening to everybody's conversations and serving in the role of note taking during the breakout sessions this afternoon. We just want to share a little bit, closing the loop and circling back to our great in-person meeting in May. I know it feels sort of like it's been a while since we've all been in the same quote unquote room together since our PLC in May. was at the beginning of the month rather than the end of the month. And here we are towards the end of June. But I just want to reflect back and say we saw so many great municipal strategies and heard a lot of great conversations from that time together, noting that there's so much to build off from in all the regions. And in the feedback forms that we heard from the session, we again hear time and time again that you really value your time together to collaborate within region and across regions. And so we are taking that into lesson in how we format today as well. We also got feedback that experts in the field, especially those that we featured during the May meeting, were really motivating. And also, we got some feedback that the regional coalitions need to talk more about their small wins with each other. And that was a really big highlight from being able to walk around the room and read through everyone's small wins and unpack those together. So we're hoping to continue that a little bit today in the discussion as well. And as always, we appreciate any feedback that you have at any time, but we'll also offer opportunities for feedback at the end of this PLC as well. And then for our connecting activity today, which Jane dropped in the chat at the beginning of the session, we'd love for folks in 1 or 2 sentences to share a recent sign of thriving in your coalition. And this could be something small, it could be something big, something meaningful that just tells you that systems are shifting in your regions or within your coalition and in your communities. And so if you wouldn't mind either typing your response in the chat or coming off mute and sharing with us verbally, we would appreciate that connection. We'll give folks a few minutes to do that. Sarah, that's great to hear that people are seeing themselves in the tasks that were at your quarterly meeting and taking ownership and moving those tasks forward. Nick, also great to hear that working group projects are moving forward and that momentum is building outside of coalition meetings. That's wonderful. Caroline, Region 5 has been able to grow, adding new insights and perspectives. Excited to hear about that membership growth. All right, we'll continue to monitor those in the chat as they come through. Feel free to keep adding. We look forward to reading them. But I'll move us along to Jane, who's going to share a little bit about our format for today.
I just want to give a shout out to a parent advisory board that had 50 parents engaged. That's amazing. So cool to see that. Lots of really good signs of thriving and shifting systems in the chat. Thanks everybody for sharing those. So as you saw in our emails, we asked you all to help us think through what we would do today, what conversations we would be having today, and we're relying on you all to help host those. The question we asked was, what topic, challenge, or opportunity is most urgent, energizing, or ripe for collective problem solving, brainstorming, or resource sharing? And we received 10 proposals for or ideas for the conversations that we'll have today. We're going to have 7 sessions. 2 of the sessions combined, and then 1 person ended up not being able to come today. So we're excited to have 7 different conversations hosted by you all. So many thanks to everybody who submitted it. Now, the way that this is going to work, we'll have a little bit of logistics. First and foremost, we're going to have 2 rounds of these conversations. They'll be about 25 minutes each. And you all get to choose which breakout room you go to. So this is, you have the ability to decide where to go. And then one thing to know is that you can always come back to the main room. We'll talk about this in a minute, but you can come back to the main room and go to a different room, if need be. Imagine you're at a conference and, the session that you're in, maybe you want to go to a different one instead. In this situation too, you'll be able to leave and come back as needed. After 25 minutes, everybody will come back into this session and then you'll have your second chance to go to a different breakout room. If there will be an opportunity for folks who want to continue a discussion that happened in round one. Let's say it was just so rich that you wanted to have that full time. You can do that and you'll be able to extend your session as need be. And then the last thing to know is that we'll have some centralized note taking. I'm going to put that link into the chat in a moment here. The idea is that everybody will benefit from the discussions. I know when I was going through the descriptions, I was like, oh, I want to be in 3 rooms at once. Haven't figured out how to do that. Even with AI transcripts, actually, we can't do that in the breakout rooms. We did look at that possibility. But the idea is that an ECIC staff person will be note taking during the conversation so that somebody who maybe wasn't able to attend can still get the gist of what's happening. The roles that we'll have are topic host, note taker, and participant. So the host is the person who said that they would, that had the idea. The note taker will be somebody from ECIC, and then all of you as participants, which we really encourage you to lean in. This isn't a presentation that the host is giving you. It's really a hosted discussion. A note that everybody will have access to that note-taking form, so you're welcome to add to it, especially if your particular, maybe a point you wanted to make or a resource you want to make sure is there. You can add that yourselves to the group. And thank you, Liv, for that notes template. For folks who have used a facilitation technique called open space technology, some of you might be familiar with this. We're doing, this isn't exactly a virtual open space, but we're taking some of those same principles of peer generated ideas. And then 2 more significant pieces are the law of 2 feet. So that's really that if you're done in the room and you've gotten what you need to out of the topic, or for some other reason you want to go to a different session, just come back to the main room and we'll put you in whichever breakout room you want to go to. You don't have to stay if it's not where you want to be. And then the other piece, and this is really for the host discretion, is that when it's over, it's over. That just means if you're the host and you've said, we kind of talked about what we need to talk about, we can move on, then you can move on. That's an okay way to do it. It's not something that you sort of have to stay for that whole 25 minutes if you don't need that 25 minutes. So next, I'm going to just show you the breakouts. This is an intentionally small document. So I'm going to put a link in the chat and you can hop to that breakout preview to read the detail of what was submitted. We're going to hear about the breakouts themselves, and each host is going to have about 45 seconds to describe their session. And if it only needs to take 15 seconds, just take 15 seconds. But you'll have 45 seconds. I think, can I see from Liv? I think Elizabeth is maybe not in the chat yet, or not in the session yet, for childcare business support. So let's start with Ken Rubal from Region 5. Ken, do you want to just walk through your session title and idea?
Sure. So I submitted from community donation to provider match, building a childcare tech pipeline. And the idea here is really just utilizing the tech waste. We know there's e-waste everywhere. This is a common thing. There are recycling programs, but just intentionally harnessing all of that e-waste and yielding products that will serve childcare providers as sort of a collaborative effort across the region.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Norica, do you want to talk through your session?
Hi, I'm having major technology issues today, but hopefully you can hear me. I just
can.
got back in. All right. So I'm hoping to talk a bit about how to find coalition members who might be willing and interested in leading work groups and what others have done with that, what that could look like, and just thinking through ideas for how to make that more sustainable and not only rely on coalition staff or paid consultants. So,
Wonderful. Thank you, Norica. Let's go with Melissa. And actually, this one's kind of fun because somebody else submitted a similar work group description, but I don't know who it was. That's a shame on me for not making the name required in the Google form. So if it's you, speak now. But if I'm going to have Melissa start, and then whoever that second person is can chime in.
Mystery guest. That's a fun
Yeah.
element. I like it. Our topic is about shared agendas and templates for meeting notes. And we've implemented that over the past few months and have used it across a number of work groups now. And it really helps us in a way to have the same look and feel to the meeting notes. And there's some spots for the note taker to sort of digest the meeting a little bit intentionally and to help us make some connections and make sure we're following up within our team and outside of the team too.
Wonderful. And is the mystery submitter on the call? Did they want to add anything? Okay, well, it'll remain a mystery. That's kind of fun. I'm the note taker for that one. I'm very excited. And we're going to be asking actually you all, we have one for childcare business supports that was proposed by Elizabeth Whitehead from Region 8, but she's not able to be here right now. So this is sort of on the fly, but wondering if anybody would be willing to host that room. We'll have somebody from ECIC there, of course. But if anyone's willing to do that, Elizabeth's session was the burnout for childcare providers is real. How are we best supporting these business owners so they can stay open and grow? And remember that this is all discussion based. You don't have to have anything prepared. So would anybody be willing to just be the host for that session? One of those lean in moments. Okay. Well, I think we'll still have that room for anybody who wants to go to that space. And we'll go from there. If it's not a hot topic, then folks can, of course, go to another room. All right. We're just going to click through these other timers and hold on a moment. There we go. You can choose your session. So Sable, let's open those rooms. Hi, everybody. Hopefully that was a good session for you all. I know we were right in the middle of a good, like getting to some meat right as we got sent back. And I will admit that I forgot to ask my host if we wanted to continue. So I'll kind of leave that open for folks. Let me share my screen so we can get the next set of our breakout sessions and have folks give a preview. There we go. So for this next session, let's hear from Kathy and Maria about shared leadership.
Hi, folks. It's Kathy and Maria here. We are excited to talk to you about how we are organized in Southwest Michigan, Region 8, and how we across counties share leadership so that we can move our entire region forward collectively, but with enough nuance that our solutions are specific to where folks are.
Great, thank you. So that'll be room 5. Room 6, Oliver and Elizabeth. I'll let you take that away and talk about your session.
I can't see Oliver, so I don't know if we're talking on top of each other or not. Yeah, we're just talking about parent compensation, what people have done, what challenges they've had, things they've learned, and see where that goes. Oliver, feel free to add anything else.
Exactly that.
Great. I know lots of folks here are working on it, so that'll be a great session, I'm sure. And then I'm going to be hosting Fuzzy to Clear. This is a strategy workshop to help you if you've got a strategy in your work groups or something that you're working on coalition-wide that is feeling a little bit hard to hold. This will be a little bit of a different session, so just it's more of a workshop. We'll do a little bit of intake and then using our collaborative capacity and adaptive action templates that we have to work through and try and make that fuzzy thing or maybe nebulous thing a little bit more tangible and clear. So hopefully we'll be able to help folks do that. So now you can, Sable, let's open the breakout rooms. And again, you should be able to go to the bottom of your window for Zoom. It says more, and then it says join breakout room, and you can hop to whichever breakout room you want to go to. Reminder that you don't have to stay in the breakout room you start in. If you want to move, that's fine. And if the host says it's over, it can be over. You can go to another one. Thanks, everybody.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We'll let everyone filter back in to the group meeting space. Yeah, we were cut off in midstream conversation, enjoying our company together. And I think we have everyone. It looks like we are actually we're waiting for Jane's group, I think, to come back.
Jane's group is here. Might be another group.
Oh, yep, filtering in. Awesome. Wonderful. I think we're pretty close to everybody. Hopefully, the second round of breakouts was just as fruitful as the first, and the peer time was well spent. Let me just pull up. I'm not sure if Jane's on. Oh, there she is. She's got the slides going. We just want to do a couple minutes of debrief and share out. We're interested how you experienced this peer-generated content format that we went through today. And we'd like to just take a couple minutes and ask folks to hop off mute if they're willing, to think about the topics that were brought up today and the format that we utilized. Does anyone have any insights about this format, or we're curious, what are some of the learnings that occurred to you during the course of this play on open space technology? For example, what is something you learned or will do or are wondering about? So we'll give you a few minutes to think about that, but if you wouldn't mind putting in the chat or coming off mute, I'd love to hear what everyone has to say.
Well, I'll suggest that it was nice to be able to develop the idea with the tech pipeline. Shauna was able to join, and having that conversation about relationships within regions, different regions, just talking about networks and possibilities. I found it really helpful. I like the structure as a way to, sort of have like poster sessions at a conference, but little PLC poster sessions.
Thanks, Ken. Elizabeth, I see you have your hand up.
There is a huge variety in the way people are having parents involved and compensating them. And I there were some that I'd never thought of, and I really liked hearing all the different ways. And I'm happy to take some of those ideas to our coalition and say, what do you think? Or to our parents and say, would this work better? And excited to do that.
That's great to hear the active peer learning that went on during that conversation. Anyone else have any thoughts on the topics or the format for today?
What I appreciated is that sometimes I feel like I'm so behind on the work I should be doing. And so just to hear where other people are at really helps me, puts me in a good headspace, and it lets me know that who I can call or who I can contact to get additional ideas for things. So I appreciate that.
That's wonderful, Lisa. Thank you for sharing. Definitely, no one is in this alone. We are all in this together, and it's very helpful to have the chance to talk with peers. And I love, Norica, you have an action item that you mentioned in the chat coming out from the conversation in round 1.
Yes, coalition members completing capacity survey. That's great. And I will say I heard like a hunger for resources. Like what's the template that you're using? What's the, how is your group doing this? Just really wanting to have examples of how people are working on things, knowing that of course, we can adapt it for our own purposes, but really just trying to get a gauge and of what other folks are doing. It was a really great, some really good resources that folks were sharing. Region 7's note templates, which, Melissa will talk about those and be able to share out with everybody. So I'll just, Sable, if you want to put the in-session poll, one of the things we said we were going to do is just get a gauge from the group here on if we should do more of these peer-generated sessions in the future. So we've got just in a strongly agree to strongly disagree, should be on that bottom one for folks. So we'll see what folks think. If you can just submit that, that'd be great. And you'll have an opportunity to expand on that for the in-session or the post PLC poll, which we'll put that in just a moment. Thanks, Liv, for letting me jump in on that.
Yeah, of course. And I think now we're ready to transition. We'll hand it back to Joan, who will close us out with some next steps and closing.
Hey, everybody. I had a fantastic time being a note taker, so hopefully you enjoyed your session. I learned so much from all of you and really appreciated the opportunity to be in that space. For our July PLC, we're going to be providing a preview of our fiscal year 27 planning documents. We've made some updates to the project plan and roster templates, and we'll have a number of other topics to talk about. If budget negotiations are resolved and all the blessed things happen, we may be able to talk about more things, but we wanted to give you all some insight into what we're thinking, and you're already hopefully picking up that we're thinking about how do we continue to improve your experience in working with us and making sure that we're bringing you the right technical assistance at the right cadence. And so we may be able to talk more about that as well. Reminding everybody about the August PLC, which is our wage initiative in-person meeting that will focus on sustainability and provide technical assistance around sustainability plans that are due in January. Please register as soon as you're able to. We sent out information about that earlier this week, also now in the chat. Reminding everyone that on-demand TA continues to be available. That can get you access to Jane or Liv or myself or our evaluator, Erin Watson, or our other technical assistance colleagues that work more on the wage side, Sarah Michelson, and Lindsay Dornman. We're here to help and support you. And of course, our other colleagues at ECIC who are a part of the National Center for Parent and Family Leadership are also available. And Julia joined us today at our session, which was great. Please do complete the post-PLC survey. As you know, we can't be successful without your thoughtful feedback. It was great to see all of you. Reminding everyone, ECIC will be closed starting on Friday at 5 and remain closed all next week. We take an annual break for our staff wellness, and we hope you also have some rest during the time we're closed. And we'll get right back at all of your requests as soon as we're back in the office on July 6th. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
We've got
Thank
a
you.
couple spare minutes to fill